Hello and welcome to the Power of You.
Indeed, that is where we are there. We are in the power of you.
We have landed.
Yep. Yeah,
Wow.
that is true.
True. We do one of these every week, and the premise, and we're coming up on 60 right now. 60 of these things. That's just crazy. The premise has always been, leadership is such a broad and deep topic, and when we find people talking about leadership, they don't really go broad and deep. They might go broad or they might go deep, but not broad and deep. So Power of You is kind of looking at you as a leader. What are some broad brush strokes that you want to pay attention to, and what are some deep dives that you can do that will enhance and improve your ability to lead an organization, to lead yourself even.
Yeah, what the heck? Who knew you had to lead yourself?
Oh, hey, I read about that in a book somewhere.
I don't know.
That was one of those broad brush comments.
It'd be kind of hard to follow yourself, I suppose. But anyway. Anyway, back to Power of You. Yeah, it's interesting because to your point, what really prompted us was that idea around leadership is like saying I'm going to the doctor, right? Is it a brain surgeon, a dentist, a chiropractor? What are you doing? And knowing that there's that many elements, it has been a blast doing 60. It is. I think this is number 60.
Yeah, I think we're real close to it. Yeah.
To doing all of these and all the different topics and all things, because that is, and we still have topics we haven't covered.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that has actually been kind of gobsmacking to me is when we set out on this, it was kind of like, let's just do this thing and see how. We cannot not come up with more ideas.
Right.
When we start lifting the cover on this, it's kind of, damn, I didn't know that was in there.
What the hell? Yeah, exactly.
Why don't we talk about that one next week?
But I'm excited about this week. So this week we're going to talk about organizational design. And I think a lot of people, I'm really, really looking forward to this topic because I think a lot of leaders out there tend to look at organizational design and they just think about, well, I'm going to, it's either going to be a tree, I'm going to do the tree thing, or I might have read the book on Zappos and I'm going to try this holacracy thing. I'm going to give that a whirl and let's see what, or I could do I heard you could do something like with Scrum but I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to drop, I'm going to pick a design.
or not. Sometimes, we'll just run with what we inherited, which is
why change it?
The case.
What got us here?
Yeah. When you think of the triangle model, that hierarchical structure, it's not an accident that most organizational designs are organized around that triangle. Triangles, the most stable geometric form you'll find.
That's true.
And when I was doing work with Bell Labs and the AT&T system, back in the 1980s, in the 80s actually.
Yeah.
When
1980s, right?
Not 1980s, not the 1800s. Yeah, I'm gray, but I'm not that gray.
There we go.
I remember the very first time I was talking with a couple of folks in Bell Labs, and I was going, okay, how many? Let's look at an org chart. There were 13 levels in the organization. 13 levels.
Right.
Each of them titled. Each of them had their roles and responsibilities. Now, when you start adding that many levels into a triangular shape, you have got an incredibly rigid system. Right. This thing is not budging. And that was essentially what was going on with the labs. And in the face of the perturbation that occurred after divestiture, all of a sudden you got to do all kinds of stuff. This model with 13 levels, the design of the system was not going to accommodate the changes that needed to be made.
Right. You can even drag it couldn't even drag it to success if you
No.
wanted to.
And I don't care how big and how clear the business case was, it wasn't moving.
Yeah.
So when, as part of the
Yeah.
consulting effort, we actually started looking at, okay, what do we need to change structurally? What do we need to, what do you guys need to change structurally in order
Right.
for this actually to work?
Oh,
And
that's funny. That's a big exercise.
oh
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah. And it was part and parcel of the whole leadership program that we were doing with the labs after divestiture. I spent a number of years in there, and then different, the baby bells afterwards,
Right.
with the same sorts of issues.
Right. Oh yeah, because all that carries through.
Yeah. It just, the mothership was just, generated all of these others out there.
All that carries through. Yeah, it just happened. It's funny you mentioned that because you think of all those little tiny triangles, right? Thank you, Isosceles, for his help.
Yeah.
But you think about all those triangles in there, in all of those little triangles become kingdoms and fiefdoms, and I'm going to protect my triangle. This is my triangle. This is mine.
I've got P&L responsibility. I've got budget responsibility, and I'm held accountable for.
That's right. This is mine. Don't even look at it.
Yep.
Don't even look at it.
These are my resources.
And it's frustrating because it doesn't even have corners. Anyway, that's another.
And nothing. You rest your case.
Yeah, I rest my case right there.
Okay.
So let's talk about this.
Yeah, it kind of leads us into the big mistakes that are made.
There you go.
This is exactly what happens here. I'm going to make us bigger and that smaller. There we go, because we're more important.
That. I mean, look at it. They'd rather see us than the slide in.
Well, that's my ego is saying that absolutely that's true.
Come on
now. Yeah. Speaking of organizational design, we're going to design it so we're more visible.
Yeah, there you go. I'll lean in just so I get a bigger head.
Lean in here.
Lean in. Anyway, do the first one. We'll trade
off.
The
first one. Yeah, we've got new goals and objectives. Something's happened out there, or we've had this epiphany, and we want to go in this direction now. So we've got a whole different set of things that we're going to be asking our people to pay attention to, and we drop it into the existing system. Okay, it's kind of like, as everybody bought in, you see the business case for it. Yeah, that all makes sense. Okay, let's go out there and do it. And people go back to the same work processes, the same workflow, and the same organizational structure that is around. Here's the reporting systems. Here's the reward systems. All of that stuff has not been tampered with.
Yeah.
And we try to get, now we kind of go into the definition of insanity here. Trying to get a different result by doing the same thing.
What?
That's exactly what we're doing here.
Yeah.
This is insane making.
Right.
And that is the experience that people have oftentimes when these big changes are introduced. Part of that insane making process or insane making consequence is because the structure has not been modified.
Yeah.
Hugely expensive.
Oh yeah. And I love that, Blaine, because it's like, I just had this conversation last night with someone around. They were implementing a new system and they said, yeah, but then wait a minute. How do we keep doing it the way we've always done it? And it's like, well, have you ever heard the phrase lipstick on a pig? But that's that's a power you right there. Right.
That one is.
So, but then leaders assign blame, which is interesting. Get that defensive posture, right? I'm going to blame somebody because stuff's not working. Sorry, this is a PG podcast here, or PG episode. So assign blame to poor execution when deadlines are missed without considering the bottlenecks in the existing structure of systems. I've set a new goal. We're going to move for new things, and I'm going to blame everything around me because I didn't modify the structure or the system underneath it to support the change.
Yep. And we've got pinch points that now appear. And that's where this third point comes into play. And these aren't by design. And I mean, literally, they're not by design. They're designed in to the system.
Well said.
And we're not aware of kind of what's in operation. What is this thing that we call our organization?
Right.
Design either constrains or encourages throughput. And this is where, Dolan and I will talk about, from a leadership perspective, elegance.
Yes.
Is what you're doing elegant? And elegant has to do with minimal unintended consequences.
Right.
And if you're putting in place new goals, objectives, you've got a new vision that by definition will have new goals and objectives, that people are paying attention to. And you're not working with design in a different way. You're trying to do it through the existing design. Pinch points, constraints, not elegant. You got people getting upset. You got morale hitting the rocks. You got do-over work. You got missed deadlines. It constrains, and it's the design that's causing that.
Yeah, and which hooks into that last one. I love this last one. Leaders assume, which is such a cool word. Assume that alignment around the goals will overcome resistance in the structure of the organization. And fundamentally, what that says is if I just work harder, because we're all aligned, we can overcome anything that's a problem in the structure. I can brute force my way to the other side.
Yep. I will power through this.
Yep. Watch me.
Yep.
I can do this. That's right. That's why I go to my team and say, drop and give me 20 right there. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
So there are symptoms associated with these mistakes.
Oh my.
These are not intended to be comprehensive. They are just intended to be, here's the tip of the iceberg. That if you're looking around and you begin to notice some of these things, you've got a design issue. Yeah, you don't have a commitment issue. You don't have an accountability issue. You don't have a trust issue. You don't have fill in the blank. You've got a design issue.
Yeah.
The same issues keep coming up regarding goal achievement. The same issues. It's kind of like names and faces have been changed, but the story's the same.
Yep. Yep. Which hooks right into number 2. And leaders, and you can smell these in your organizations. What should have been simple runs off the rails. Not once, but every time.
Yep.
What should have been simple just falls off the rails.
And because we rely on what was, because we knew it worked then, we get surprised because now we've got quality issues that begin to appear for no apparent reason. Well, why is this showing up? It didn't used to show up. We used to do this.
Right.
And we did it well.
Right.
But now we got a little tweak here, and we got, our wastage numbers are going up.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah. Which hooks into that last, I love the last one. There's so many more symptoms go on. These are 4 really good ones. The left hand no longer seems to know what the right hand is doing. We've got kingdoms of protection going on, fiefdoms happening, and even in the body of that little tiny triangle that's 9 layers deep, that's got 6 people in that triangle, they don't know what's going on.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. So if you can imagine if that little triangle, 6 people don't know what's going on, what is permeating through the rest of your organization because you designed it that way?
Yeah. Yep. And make no mistake, you did design it either by default and inattention or by intention and attention.
Yeah.
You're going to have those 2 options, in terms of your organizational design.
Exactly.
So we want to encourage you to get in front of the idea here of organizational design. I mean, this idea of design. There's an exercise I would do. I actually did this with a group of bankers at the World Bank.
Huh.
I was working with them on a project in Zambia, and we were out in the bush, and they were, basically it was a road building project. They were expanding, from the capital out into, the hinterlands and that sort of a thing.
Oh yeah.
And they were missing the mark on a lot of different things. And so I said, well, maybe we get, I was thinking to myself, maybe we got a design issue here. So I had them just stop in this conversation that we were engaged in. I said, everybody take a piece of paper out, just get an A4 piece of paper out, notebook size paper, and make a paper airplane. Just make a paper. Everybody knows how to make a paper airplane. The bankers are going, huh? And I'm going, just stick with me on this. So they made paper airplanes. Everybody made a paper airplane. I said, now I want you to find a target that's about 5 meters away from you, about 15 feet, away from you. And if you're thinking about hitting the wall, that's too big of a target. I want a spot on the wall. I want you to hit a specific target, specific spot. And when I say go, I want you to just fly that airplane. Just let it launch it and let it. And your objective is to hit the target. I said 1, 2, 3, go, and I had 30 people in the room, and I had airplanes going every which way. I mean, it was just a chaotic mess, and people were laughing and they were having kind of a good time. And so I said, "Go get your airplane." So everybody scampered and they found their airplane and they brought it back. How many hit the target? Nobody. Nobody hit the target. And I said, "Okay, let's take a look at this. Do you know how to make an airplane?" "Yeah, based on results, we do." "Do you know how to fly a paper airplane?" "Yeah, based on results, we do." "Did you want to hit your target? Had you set the target clearly?" "Yeah, it was clear." "Did you want to hit it?" "Yes, we did." "Well, what happened?" "The design of your airplane was not going to allow you to hit that target." They went, "Huh." So let's take a look at your organizational design right now, given what you're trying to achieve with this
I love
project.
that.
And all of a sudden, the penny dropped and pieces started to fit into place. And we had a great conversation.
Yeah.
And they ended up redesigning a whole bunch of stuff. It was
That
really
makes
kind of cool.
so much sense. That's such a good exercise. That's a great exercise.
Yeah. Oh, it was, and it's fun. It's fun, especially if you got, stuffy bankers that are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and I love this quote from Steve Jobs. Design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works. That paper airplane did not work.
Yeah.
It looked good. It had wings. It was streamlined.
Yeah. And they look good, but you got a lot of different models of airplanes
Oh
doing
boy,
it.
a bunch of them.
And it's cool, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love this quote. When I was reading this quote, it is so true. It's not what it looks like and feels like. It's how it works. You can make anything. I love it. You've probably been in that. It reminds me of many meetings going in to sit down with a client. You sit down and they go, "Let me present the org chart to you."
Mm-hmm.
I work days on this org chart, and there's colors and dotted lines and arrows and all of that kinds of stuff. And then you go, "Awesome. What does it do?"
Yeah.
Well, gave everybody a home.
And
okay, that's awesome.
yeah, they know where they live, where they're supposed to be in the hierarchy now.
Yeah, that's right. That's
They
right.
know who their boss is. They know who to report to.
We taught them the PO, the pecking order.
Yes.
Yes, everybody knows the pecking order around here.
This is the chain of command.
Oh, right, exactly. Yeah. That's true. But I love that. Design is how it works.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which leads directly into this.
Yes. Well, it is, and we talk about this every time we're on. And leaders, every Power of You, we go through this, and we go through it deliberately. This is our definition of leadership. We say this over and over and over. Leadership is the activity of. We'll break it up into 5 pieces very quickly. The very first activity, because leaders cause motion, they cause movement. That incorporates the word activity. You're causing movement. You're causing that through the very first thing, which is influencing. Influencing is how you show up as yourself and how you show up with others. Influencing is that it is not command and control. Influencing is where I show up in my vibrational state. If you show up tense and pissed off, guess what you're going to influence in the room? Probably a group of people that are tense and pissed off.
Yep.
They're going to feel it's going to be a very exciting meeting.
Yeah, they're going to be defensive. They're going to be upset. They're going to. Yep.
Get this. Others. So influencing others. Those are the individuals that you are collaborating with to co-create. Co-creating means that you are as a leader, you are being transparent, you're communicating, you're being trusting, you're granting autonomy, which is merely granting permission for people to try to do stuff. We're going to co-create this. We're going to find a way to move this forward together, and we're going to create that solution together. It is not command and control. Command and control is take the hill, go here, go there. That is command and control. And then coordinated movement. Coordinated movement is because now that we know we have an influence, which means we're coming together as that family. Others are the people that we brought together for the specific purpose. We're going to co-create that. So we're going to co-create coordinated movement. Now we're talking about how we get there, because you're going to go someplace you've never been before. This is a net new path, which can be I had a great conversation with a gentleman this morning about resilience as leaders. This is resilience. You're going someplace you've not been before. So things are going to raise their head. Fear is going to show up. Uncertainty will show up. Yeah, buts may show up. But if you're influencing, you're co-creating, that coordinated movement is a much more elegant process. What are we going to do to coordinate, to move forward in pursuit of the worthy ideal? And worthy ideal.
Yeah, and that worthy ideal, I mean, this is really important piece of information here. It's not the vision, and it's not the goals or objectives. It's literally what matters to people. What matters to people individually, as a team, and as an organization. So there's levels of mattering that come into play here. And we call that the worthy ideal. You know, specifically, you'll hear Dolan and I talk a lot about for the sake of what.
Yes.
We're doing this for the sake of what? And that's what we want to pay attention to here. Now, when you look at influencing others in order to co-create coordinated movement in pursuit of a worthy ideal, those are design elements. You're designing yourself as a leader. And when you design yourself as a leader around those particular dimensions, now you've got a possibility of doing something different in your organization when you start designing your organization to cause the movement necessary to produce the result that you say you want.
Yeah.
So you set the ceiling literally on what the organization does. If you're paying attention to your internal design state, you will be communicating the value of continuously redesigning as you go along, because things change. And I've got to redesign myself, got to reconfigure.
Right.
That's what this is all about. That's where powerful influencing comes into play.
Yeah. If things aren't changing, you're dying. Trust
Absolutely.
me, as a business, if you're not changing, you're dying. So yeah, I love that. And by the way, jot those things down, leaders, or grab a copy of the slide, whatever, but you'll see that. But I love your comment, Blaine, just around the fact that, we talked about the outcome you get from the design that you create.
Yeah.
And the design, we're going to talk about some other very detailed aspects around design and organizational design, but that this premise, the definition of leadership, this is the cement. This is what you build on. You build on this layer. Without this layer, and if you don't have a worthy ideal, figure it out.
Yeah. That just from a graphic perspective and an image perspective, worthy ideal could have been in front, but worthy ideal permeates all of this. I mean, the worthy ideal is what we cause movement to achieve, to produce, to manifest. It's also what we're trying to run everything. It's a pursuit of that. We're pursuing that. How do I design myself to be able to manifest that most elegantly?
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at. And that's true for me as a leader. How do I become the leader I need to be in order to achieve what we say we want and value?
Right. Yeah. Love that. You must know your worthy ideal.
Absolutely. This goes back a whole bunch of years. When we start talking about organizational design,
man.
you can really get wrapped around the axle on some of this stuff. And this is a very simple example of a very complex piece, because each one of these 7 S's has got all kinds of stuff inside it when you look at the full model. But the McKinsey consulting firm developed this 30 some odd years ago. And it was a way of saying, okay, if we're going to design an organization, what are we paying attention to? Because they recognized even back then that design was critically important to highly effective organizations.
Right.
And it begins with a center of shared values. And this is where vision lives. This is where you've got all of these pieces that kind of come into play here. It's actually kind of where the culture, how do we agree to work with each other? All that stuff lives in these shared values.
Yeah.
And then you've got the actual structure. You've got the work process systems. You've got your style, your unique style. You got how you staff, which is includes onboarding. Who do you hire? All that sort of stuff. The skills that are necessary to have. And then ultimately the strategy. We talked about this in last week's Power of You. What's the strategy make possible? And then the actual structure itself, and these oftentimes come into reporting relationships and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
McKinsey, mark these out as either hard or soft. Soft
Right.
skills, hard skills.
Yep.
The soft stuff, style, staff, skills. Hard stuff, strategy, structure, systems. And this is a way that you can begin to think about, what do I need to pay attention to? For most small and medium-sized organization, this is way overkill. You do not need to go here.
That's a really good point. That's a very, very good point. Yes. Matter of fact, if you're a small to medium-sized business and you're probably under $50 million, you may probably look, this may hurt you more than it help you sometimes a little bit.
Yeah.
But
this is, but it gives you something to think about here, because there are things in play.
Right. Which I love that, because when you think about it, between the hard S's, ops, the soft S's people.
Yep.
But even as a small organization, and as you were talking about that, Blaine, I was kind of reminding myself, it's easy. One of the things that happens when you're in that, that growth, and I'm trying to get to my first 50, and you're trying to get, the business to that level. From that growth perspective, you lean in really heavy on the hard part. I'm going to lean in really hard. I gotta have a killer strategy, and excuse me. Yeah, we got a shared value. Yeah. But I need the structure, and then I need the systems, and then you kind of go, well, soft skills, all that soft stuff. I'm going to get to that.
Yep.
I'm going to get to that.
And we almost never do.
Very, very tightly coupled.
Yeah, they are. And when you think, EOS would live over here in the systems piece, your operating systems, the structure. These are the reporting relationships.
Perfectly said. Yeah.
The org chart's going to, kind of show up there. Strategy. We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
What's the pathway that we're going to use to achieve what it is that we said is important? And then we look at, okay, do people have the skills necessary? Do we have the right people on the right seat in the right bus? That sort of a thing. And then just kind of, what's our style? Apple is very different than Microsoft stylistically. Right. Yeah. So this is kind of where culture shows up.
Exactly. Behavior.
And you can curate that. You can actually do stuff with it. Now, like we said, this gets complex. There's a lot of balls in the air here.
Yeah.
What's going to be more, I think, more easy.
Mm-hmm.
More easy.
Yeah, that's good. That's gooder English.
Gooder English. Thank you. This model comes from, and it was actually created by a fellow that I did quite a bit of work with back in the 1970s, 1980s. Dr. John Jones. John is no longer with us, and he passed a number of years ago. But he developed this thing called the organizational universe, and it's a way of understanding, from a design perspective, what happens, and what's possible when you begin paying attention to design. And as opposed to McKinsey's 7 S's, here you've only got 4 things to look at.
Right.
The core is the values. Okay, that didn't change, because it's the question: who are we? This is your values, it's your mission, it's your and this is where vision is born out of. So that core values, you want to be sure that is solid. Then, and this is where the for the sake of what exists. This is the worthy ideal. All of that is embedded in that values core.
Yep.
Then you're going to look at, okay, what goals do we need to set in order to achieve that worthy ideal or that vision? What are the goals? This is where you've got your KPIs. You've got all of this stuff comes into play. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Notice the positioning of structure and goals. In most typical organizations, you've got structure in this yellow ring, and you've got goals in the green ring. Yeah. John recognized that we will almost by default begin to set goals, and then we will need to run them through a structure. And if the structure is already in place and it's not examined, then you try to get to the goals by going through an existing structure, and it's square peg, round hole. And ouch, that hurts.
Oh man.
If you get the goals established and then you say, what structure is going to best facilitate our ability to produce this outcome?
Yeah.
What needs to shift? What needs to move? That's essentially what we're looking at with organizational design. And you do that in a way that basically keeps the climate and the culture of the organization intact. Yeah. You do it with a mindful eye.
Yep.
So that people feel cared for. I mean, remember, culture is about how we've agreed to behave with one another.
Mhm.
So you want to be able to behave in the way that you said is important to you as an organization. This culture and climate piece is linked back to values, but everything runs in this uh, trajectory: values, vision, goals to achieve, structure to make it happen, and then the people piece. How are we behaving with each other as we do it? That's what we're looking at with this.
Yeah. I love this model. And because I think that a lot of organizations and leaders, I would love the point, because I think a lot of leaders, in particularly that structure goals, those two domains, when they get inverted, or they come back, they have the values, everybody agrees on the, especially if you've been around for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Yeah, blah, blah, blah values. Oh, yeah, yeah. Can anybody say them? No, but I got them right here. I can look them up.
Yep.
Right here on my phone, I can see it. And then, but I don't have them memorized. I don't need to do that. So get the values, but I have an inherently, this is your death trap, leaders, which is that slow spiral of death. I already have a structure in place. So I'm going to, where goals is in that yellow domain, I'm going to assume that my goals can be accomplished by the structure I have without asking that question. If I have the goals have changed, because they will, because your business changes. What must also change in your structure? And it's hard as a leader to let go of that structure because you built it.
Yep. Yep.
You're going to want to make diamonds out of that chunk of coal. You got to let go. And it may turn out structure's good.
Yeah, it may. I mean, it's not throwing the baby out with the bath. That's not what we're talking about here. It's about being very mindful about where's the potential bottleneck, where's the potential snag, where's the potential speed bump in reporting relationships, in reward systems, in communication structures, in information flow, in the workflow itself.
Right.
Okay, all of those are structural elements. So what do we need to tweak and tune here? As we can trim the sails, we can even change the sails as we're operating. This isn't an invitation to do a full stop. Let's completely rebuild the entire boat. That's not what we're looking at here.
We would probably recommend not to do that. Very rarely would we ever recommend doing that. Very rarely.
Interesting. Yeah, I mentioned AT&T with their rigid, labs with their rigid structure. When I was doing work with Nokia back in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a year, and I believe it was 1998, 99, somewhere right around there. Nokia had achieved, I mean, they were now the number one manufacturer of telephones on the planet. They were, they were the gorilla. Now, what was interesting there is in that year, or actually it was in about an 18-month period, they completely reorganized 5 times in a year and a half. Complete reorganizations, new reporting relationships. I mean, there was just all kinds of stuff that was going on because they were moving so fast and their goals had changed so significantly that existing relationships or existing structures weren't going to carry the day for us.
Man.
So now, how do you manage? Now, that was a global organization. You talk about taking a big challenge. How do you manage something like that? Most of us are not going to have to do that.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were willing to take that on and recognize the need to take that on if they were going to be successful, that said a lot about why they were now number one. When they started out as a third-tier player, fourth-tier player in 1994. It was
interesting.
Fascinating to watch that happen and be a part
Yeah.
of it. So
It's reframing.
yeah.
Yeah. So leaders, let's just reframe a little bit let's reframe this, right? Leaders think that if vision goals are clear, execution should be the next step. It's interesting because that's an easy trap. I've fallen into that trap before. You fall in and you kind of go, okay, I've said we're taking that hill and we're doing it in 4 days and go. And you look up after 3 days and everybody's on the wrong hill. But they're taking it. They're taking it. They've all got their broomstick and they're yelling bang as they're going up the hill. So it's an easy trap to fall into. And if you think about it from a design perspective, the reality around that is you can read it on the screen. The reality is that design enables elegant execution. Your design enables that execution. When you just say vision and goals are not design. Remember going back to the circles we just talked about. Vision sitting in the very beginning. Every significant change in goals or vision requires an organizational reset. Love that statement. And it's not stop. But it means there's a pause. Every significant change, and by the way, it could be daily. There's always stuff going on in all the markets. Significant change in goals and or vision requires an organizational reset, which is that question. You may not change anything, but is what we have the right organizational design to get us to this new change? Do we have to do that? And that's an opportunity to reset.
Yeah. And every organization has got what's euphemistically called sacred cows.
Oh, yeah.
That's just the way we do things around here. Yeah. Or that's not something we talk about. I mean, that one's off limits. We can't touch that. That's the third rail in this organization. Nobody goes there. You want to have the ability to have, and this is also a design question. Do you have the capacity and ability as a leader with your team to have hard conversations? Because these sacred cows, these sacred cows live in silos.
Yes.
And and there's a cowboy out there that wants to protect that cow.
Yes.
And they sometimes do need to be put down or put out to pasture.
Yeah. I have to go back and look. I remember seeing years ago, Blaine, a picture of a sacred cow, and this thing was like skin and bones and standing out in the field, head hung low, but yes, that's a sacred cow.
That's a sacred cow. He's outstanding in its field.
Oh my God, outstanding in the field. That's correct. And then design enables or cripples execution. We talked about this, but this is important to kind of go back and just lean in on just quickly. What you design has an impact on execution.
Yep.
Now say it again. What you design has an impact. So if your execution is crippled, look at your design.
Yep. Because people genuinely want to do a good job. They actually do want to deliver. I can't remember. I don't think I've ever met anybody that's intentionally is trying to sabotage something in an organization. I know they're out there, but I've never run into one. And
rare.
Yeah.
Rare. It's kind of, it's like that. I was laughing this morning with a podcast guest and we were talking. I said, it's kind of like going on a date with your wife. You're not going to show up and hope the food sucks.
Good point.
Yeah. So think about your design and your intention.
Yes. And the net of this is, and this is a tip of the hat to Jim Collins, but literally ensuring that the right person is in the right seat and on the right bus.
Love that.
So to your point about taking the hill, okay, that's the hill there. This is the bus we're going to use to get there. Everybody get on the bus. And by the way, you got assigned seats.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you'll know where to sit. I'll help you.
We'll help you. And when we do it again, you're going to be on another bus, a different bus, and there's going to be different seats, and you're going to be in a different seat.
Right.
You want to get people in the organization used to not camping out.
That's it. Say that one again.
You want to get people in the organization not used to camping out. This is what I do. This is mine.
Oh yeah.
You can't let go of your death grip on that, because we're gonna do something different here.
That's the owner of the sacred cow.
That's right. That is an example of a sacred cow.
That's the owner of that sacred cow. Yeah.
So here's the way that the mindset comes into play here. Leaders will move from structure as hierarchy. Okay, these are reporting. We've got to have order, and the mindset is pay attention to order. Now, this is interesting. Management's function in an organization is to ensure predictability and stability. Leaders' function in an organization is to cause chaos and change. Okay, so you've got a couple of dynamics in play here. And if you're leaning heavily into the management side of your role, you're going to be paying attention to structure as hierarchy because it's stable. Think of 13 levels. You got stability. This thing is not going to wiggle. You want to be able to move into seeing structure as capability. What does this make possible for us, or what does it inhibit for us?
I love that. And you operators, it's going to be hard for you operators. That's hard for operators to do. We think of the structure of your organization as capability. That's a tough leap. It took me a long time to master that as a chief operating dude. And then from control and command to empowerment and autonomy. Control and command we talked a little bit about, so I'm not going to stay here too long. But control and command is, there are moments of control and command, and to your point, Blaine, control and command tends to fall into the domain of management, right? Take care of your people on time and budget. You're looking for, how do I control these aspects and contribute to commanding the outcome? But as the leader, your job is to empower, which means that you give people permission to be autonomous, so they have your permission to go try.
Yep. And when you look at the contrasting here, you've got a yin and a yang sort of a presentation that we're doing here.
Yeah.
The first piece is more in the management domain. The second piece is more in what we would traditionally look at as leadership. So from efficiency and silos, I mean, again, efficiency is important. Silos are one way that we organize around things. That's a management function. I mean, we're going to pay attention to that through the management lens. Leadership is really looking at enterprise-wide impact.
Yeah.
So breaking the silos apart and taking a look at, resource allocation. What's the impact of that choice and that decision and that action in that area? What's the impact that it's having over here? If marketing does that, what does that do to production?
Right.
Okay. And they can't exist independently. They've got structurally, from a design perspective, there has to be a symbiotic relationship here that actually facilitates communication so that left hand does know what the right hand is doing.
Yes. Yeah. And that's that operational collaboration. That's where they operate. It's collaboration, not command and control. Collaboration, key word. But risk management to experimentation and learning. Every company, there's a bunch of domains. Maybe we'll do one on risks at some point. All the domains on how to manage risk, what risk is from a leader's perspective. With risk management, when you're shifting from risk management to experimentation and learning, and experimentation and learning means, there's bumper rails and there's tolerances and all of those things, all the domains around risk go into that. But is that willingness to shift your mindset to allow the organization to experiment and then learn from the experiment. There's only 3 domains of experimenting. Do less, do more, do the same. There's a rule of 3s. If it's more than 3, I can't remember it. Do less, do more, do the same. But it allows you to experiment and learn so that you can manage those 3 actions. And that's where risk comes in.
Yep.
And risk comes into play. Risk will come in on what does it mean to do one of those 3 things.
Yep.
So that's a really important part from an organizational design perspective. Is your organization designed to support experimentation and designed to support. What did we learn from that act?
Yeah. And that moves us actually into this final point here, which is the default in many organizations when we start thinking about new things, new goals and objectives. Well, who's doing this already? What are the best practices that other organizations are using to do this thing? That is organized around, again, stability and certainty.
Yeah.
Okay? We're gonna just take that template and transplant it. Now, you tried that at one point in time with one of your companies that you were leading. You just kind of overlaid this operating system on top of it, and it just, that was a best practice. It was a best practice. Yeah.
But good in principle.
Good in principle. So we move away from that and we move towards, now these are not either or, these are an and. So moving from following best practice into designing for context. Now, what's important, a couple of things about this. The word context, we talk about this a lot. As a matter of fact, we'll spend 2 full months on context in our mastermind program.
Yes.
Dolan and I do.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is context is the meaning generating mechanism in an organization. Context.
Yep.
And why that's important is all behavior that you will see in any domain, in any organization, is context specific. It's driven by meaning. What's meaningful to the person? This is why we talk about, that worthy ideal. What matters? That meaning will generate behavior. So you design for a context that produces universally accepted meaning that you can actually begin then to leverage. And it has nothing to do necessarily with best practices. Now, best practices may inform some of that.
Right.
Once you've got the meaning set up, now you can look at best practices. It's kind of, how do we actually facilitate making that happen in a way that's unique to us?
Right.
That's a big difference than just laying best practices on top of us and saying, let's go.
Oh, no. First-hand experience. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't. Trust me, don't do that. And then governing behavior. So what do you do, right? So we've talked about a lot of stuff with this organizational design. And look, leaders, as you listen to this, I'll encourage you, and you'll see a thing at the end on how to get a hold of Blaine and I. Talking about how to organize how to put your team together so you can do these things. There's a behavior involved. That's you, the behavior. We're happy to have a conversation with you, not to engage us as consultants, but we're happy to give you ideas and just have a chat. But when you think about it, view organizational design not just as an org chart. We've talked about this, is so important, but as a mechanism for building capabilities. That is so important because we're schooled to think of things in that hierarchical manner. Even though we see people experiment with holacracies and all kinds of alternative ways that we can run I used to tell my team all the time it was a benevolent dictatorship. But so we would view that organizational design. The org chart is important because that helps you understand. But if you look at your org chart from the mechanism of capability, it will change the way you see that chart.
Yep.
And I think if you took your org chart today, printed it out, put it down, and thought about capabilities based on what you've got, tomorrow morning you'd have a different org chart.
Very likely.
I'd put a donut on that. Matter of fact, you let me know and I'll buy you a donut.
Okay. Partly one of the governing behaviors here has to do with trusting employees with decision-making power. And partly for the reason that it improves accountability and speed. When they feel they're a part of an organization, and this is a design question. Are they designed, has the system been designed to have people feel as if they can make a decision?
Yeah.
Rather than pushing it up the hill. Yeah. Let's escalate this. Let's escalate this. Yeah. Let's run it up the floor. Yeah.
Run up the flagpole.
You don't want that. And if your system isn't designed to facilitate decision making at the level in which it's appropriate, you end up with lack of accountability, and things really slow down because they're waiting for approvals.
Yeah, you're the constraint.
Yeah, you're the bottleneck.
all of a sudden, goodness gracious, you are busy. Look
Hey,
at me,
boss,
I'm
what
busy.
do you think we should do here, boss?
Now,
Hey,
now I'm
boss.
a now I'm a not a boss anymore. I'm a firefighter. All right, here we go. Bring me a fire. And in prioritizing the success of the organization, this is a really interesting statement. We do have a tendency when we think about organizations, and I, in my career, have been guilty of this. You get focused on optimizing a department. I'm
Mhm.
going to optimize this department for an outcome. This happened, by the way. The two primary places in your organization where you will fail at this is in sales and marketing.
Bingo.
Not to get on the pulpit and say an amen, but perpetually businesses optimize in marketing and optimize in sales without optimizing through the entire organization. And yeah, there's things you got to do in sales. Yeah, there's things you got to do in marketing. But when you focus exclusively on optimizing that single department, you sacrifice the capabilities of everybody else.
Yep. And you end up with a left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing.
Oh boy, do you.
Yep. And you literally design in resentment.
Yes, you do. Why is that person a VP?
Yeah.
Well, I should be a VP. I never heard that in my career. But anyway.
Viewing failure as a data point for growth rather than a reason for punishment.
Oh,
This is huge, because by
yeah.
definition, when you set a vision, and we're assuming that you're going to be setting a vision that is big enough to really stretch you and your organization, you're going to be entering territory you've never been before, and guaranteed you're going to fall down. You're going to go, ow, that hurt. That's just a data point for growth. It's not an indication that somebody screwed up. How could they screw up if they didn't know the safe path? If they knew the safe path, they would have taken it. Okay. So there's some grace that comes in here in terms of how you navigate this. What did we learn? And this kind of goes back to something that you said right at the very beginning. You know, what are we learning from things? Yeah. We don't grow because we were successful. We grow because we made mistakes and learned from them. And
Yeah.
your organization needs to be designed to facilitate that. Not, you're making mistakes that you know better about making. That's
That's
not what we're
different.
talking about here.
Yeah.
Mistakes will be made in pursuit of that worthy ideal. They can't not be made. What did we learn? Because the more we can learn and the quicker we can learn, the easier it's going to be for us to get there. It's
So
kind of
true.
like what Honda Sorichiro said, the founder of the Honda Motor Company, when he was asked
Right.
about how did you become so successful? I made as many mistakes as I could as fast as I could.
Yes.
And that's what
Yeah.
you want to build into the system. That's a design. That's a design answer from somebody that designed an organization that nobody thought would succeed, and it succeeded because of the way he designed it.
Yeah. I love that when we get a chance to talk about that, talk about failure. Because one of the things that leaders, I think it's we worry about the punitive results of failure, right?
Mhm.
Because we're brought up worrying about failure. So that's how we're schooled, literally schooled, right? In an A to F format. But I love that because there is the simplest way I always kind of think about it is if we're going someplace and we're on this path to the goal that we're on and we don't fail, we needed to pick a harder path
Yep.
or a
Yeah.
bigger goal.
Or a bigger
Something,
goal.
something was wrong with what we decided to go do because we need to be going places we've not been. Anyway, recognizing that the best structure is the one that supports current strategic objectives, not simply copying a competitor. Well, you said this earlier when you were leaning in, Blaine, and you were talking a little bit about best practices.
Yeah.
One of the symptoms of best practices is I wonder what those guys are doing. Maybe if I do what they're doing, I'll get what they got.
Yeah.
And you won't. And you won't.
And you won't.
And you won't. You doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, literally, the problem with best practice, co-opting a best practice, is it worked in a system that was already up and running. And that
yeah.
system, guaranteed, is going to be different than your existing system.
Hands
So it's working in that system. You bolt it onto your system. It's not going to work in the same way if it works at all.
No. No, it's different people, different company, different. No. Now,
Different
are there
culture, different-
nuances?
Yep.
Probably. Are there things you can learn? Probably. But if you forklift that thing and move it over, boy,
Bingo.
yep, not going to go. So why does this matter?
It matters for a whole bunch of reasons, and I'm gonna just kind of point you to the chart here. We're not gonna read them. You can read them quicker than we can talk about them. But strategic alignment, performance and efficiency improve, cultural shifting or shaping, and shifting. Yeah, kind of come into play here.
Yeah,
you adapt faster. Yeah, the key to success oftentimes is quick adaptability. I mean, this is one of the things that Darwin actually spoke to. He didn't talk about survival of the fittest. He talked about survival of the adaptable.
That actually wasn't him who said that. But anyway, yeah,
that's right. And employee experience and retention, you'll notice your turnover starts to go because you're designing for longevity. You're designing for retention, and ultimately it's long-term success. So there's a whole bunch of reasons you want to be paying attention to organizational design.
Yeah, so good. That's why it matters. Pay attention to this, kids.
Pay attention.
All right. Now, what do you win? But when you think about just why it matters, when it is, and I like the word win because in leadership, the goal of the win is successfully moving towards your for the sake of what? Towards that worthy ideal. That is the win. If you can focus there, generally all of the other things that you're trying to accomplish will occur. Generally. Yep. But the win is a well-designed organization directly aligns a company's structure, processes, and cultures with strategic goals, driving performance and adaptability. And that's a big, I was going to say big ass, but I won't. That's a big sentence. I did say big ass. That's a big ass.
You didn't say it. Yes.
I did say it. But if you take that part, leaders, just a little bit, let's just parse it real quick. A well-designed organization directly aligns a company's structure, its processes, its culture. Remember the circles, right, that stack up, right, with its strategic goals, which is the destination that we're moving towards. That's the outcome, driving performance and adaptability, all surrounded by that for the sake of what? That is the big win. And if you can keep that in your mind as you look at your org chart, and flip this into a question, does my org chart align with our company structure?
See, that's perfect. It moves us right into these executive reflections.
Right.
There you go.
And we practice this, don't we?
Talk about a great segue.
Every time.
Come in for a landing here. What are you willing, or what are you allowing, not willing, what are you allowing, where are you allowing existing structural hierarchy to exist?
Great question.
These are reflective questions. Yeah, you want to be able to just kind of back up for a moment, take a deep breath and go, okay, what am I dealing with? Because in order to get there, you have to know where you are starting from. If you don't know where you're starting from, it's real difficult to get there, wherever there might be. Okay. So where are you allowing existing structural hierarchy to exist right now?
Yeah.
Just notice it. Just notice it.
Yeah. Boy, we talk about that in the mastermind. Notice what you're noticing. Yeah. Notice what you're noticing. What efficiencies are silo-based? We've touched on a lot of these, but think of these questions. What efficiencies, operational efficiencies, are silo-based at the expense of the success of the organization? What am I doing? Remember we talked earlier about optimization for the department rather than optimizing for the organization at the sacrifice of the organization.
And then, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but finish. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that moves us right into where are you managing risk at the expense of experimentation and learning, because essentially what you're doing about operational efficiencies, you're looking to minimize risk, stability and certainty. That's what you're looking for when you're operating or organizing operational efficiencies at the expense of what? So that's what we want, and oftentimes at the expense of experimentation and learning, which begins to disenfranchise the people in your organization, which will affect itself in your retention rates.
Oh boy.
There's a link to all of this.
Yeah. And then last but not least, which we've touched on already, just when you go in and sit down, put your org, print it out, put it down, get a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, beverage of your choice, Diet Coke, whatever your beverage of your choice is, and sit down and ask, where's a major new initiative not been accompanied by an examining of my existing structure? Because you're going to have initiatives in motion, and in the back of your mind as a leader, you're going to have initiatives that you're thinking of doing.
Yep.
And you must examine that structure.
Because every one of those things are going to be run through your structure. And you want to have that be as elegant as you can possibly make it.
Amen.
So
there you go.
Where can you find out more about us? Well, here's where you can find out more about what we're up to. And also, this Power of You, as well as the other 59, and we continue to add every week, are contained in this community site. So the invitation is just go here. That's the URL. It's a bit.ly URL, and you can access that just by typing it in, or you can just scan the QR code. It's a community. It's a curated community of leaders that are interested in developing greater effectiveness in their life and more impact in what they're doing. Doland and I both are continuously putting content up there. There's a lot of stuff in there already. We've just launched it. We've got, I think, about 20 people in there right now, something like that.
It's just
people are starting to notice it, and they're starting to come in. So feel free to just drop in, take a look around. There's some stuff that you can, kind of organize your thinking around. And then there's a join button, very nominal, $297 for the year. Don't worry about that. It'll give you full access to everything. All the stuff, once you've come in as a full member, it's all, all that stuff is free. And there will be eventually some, new material in there will be charged for, but it'll also be at a nominal cost. So mostly we're trying to curate a lot of material that you can actually access and use immediately and not have to really worry about how much is this going to cost me.
I was just going to do some math on how many lattes you can buy for $2.97 at Starbucks. And when you think about it, one of the challenges,
they've got an $8 coffee now. I think it
is an $8 coffee. Yeah, exactly. But when you think about it, it's like 30. You can get 37 of them. So you can either go buy 37 lattes, or you can join the community, or you can do both.
Or you can do both. Yes.
The things I gotta know. I don't know why my brain works weird. But you do come join us. The community is a home for leaders, and we feed it. But it's also intended to be a community in and amongst other leaders where conversations can occur. It's not just about Blaine and Doland pumping a bunch of material in here. The purpose of a community is to bring us together. So there we go. How are you, baby?
Another one in the can. So folks, thank you for watching and listening. And we will see you next Thursday. Time to be announced. It's usually sometime around this hour. We've got a number of different shows that we do, and they all have flexible schedules. But
yes, they do.
You'll be getting, particularly if you're a member of the group here, you will get notification as to when the next one is.
There you go. Come hang out. All right, Dr. Bartlett.
Dr. White. Mañana.
Mañana, baby.